All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are diving straight into the absolute nerve center of modern cybersecurity, SOC Level 1 Alert Triage Fundamentals. Whether you're literally stepping into a security operations center for the very first time, or you just really want to know how the front lines of cyber defense actually operate on a daily basis, consider this your ultimate blueprint. So let's get right into it. I want you to picture this for a second. You're a brand new SOC intern. You've just sat down, coffee in hand, and you're staring at your mentor's monitor. And suddenly, hundreds of alerts are just flashing across the dashboard. They're bouncing between statuses, disappearing, popping back up. You're seeing things like email marked as phishing, maybe an unusual Gmail login location, and then boom, a glaring, scary red one, unapproved Mimikatz usage. Now, if you know Mimikatz, you know it's a notorious tool hackers use to steal passwords. It feels completely, utterly chaotic. So what do all these actually mean? How are they even formed? And honestly, most importantly, what do you do first? Well, to conquer that chaos, here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. First, from events to alerts. Second, decoding alert properties. Third, prioritizing the threat queue. Fourth, the alert triage process. And finally, closing the cyber case. Okay, starting with Section 1, from events to alerts. Let's look at the actual journey of an alert. You see, before an alert even exists on a dashboard, an event has to occur in the wild. We're talking about a user logging in, a background process launching, maybe a file downloading. Next, your operating system or your firewall actually logs that specific event. Step 3, those logs are systematically shipped off to a centralized security solution, something like a SIEM or an EDR. And finally, when a specific event or a sequence of events happens to match a predetermined threat rule, boom, the security solution generates your alert. Now, the sheer scale of this is honestly staggering. Millions. A busy SOC team can easily receive millions of raw logs per day, pouring in from thousands of different systems. But here's the reality. Most of that activity is completely expected and totally normal. Alerts exist to save analysts from impossible manual log review and the dreaded alert fatigue. They essentially distill millions of raw logs down to just dozens of actionable items, highlighting only the highly suspicious, anomalous events for you to look at. So, who exactly handles what in this high-pressure environment? Let's quickly break down the SOC team roles. As an L1 analyst, you are the true first line of defense. You're the one reviewing the alerts, distinguishing the bad from the good, and performing that crucial initial triage. Now, if you find a real threat, you escalate it up to the L2 analysts. They take over for the really deep analysis and the actual remediation. Meanwhile, working behind the scenes, you've got SOC engineers ensuring those alerts actually contain enough useful information for you to do your job efficiently. And above it all, SOC managers are tracking the speed and quality of this entire process to make absolutely sure no real attacks slip through the cracks. Moving right along to Section 2, decoding alert properties. It's time to decode the data. Every single alert comes packed with data that you need to be able to decode instantly. First up are severities. These are almost always color-coded, running from low or informational, usually in green, moving up through medium and high, all the way to critical or urgent in flashing red. Then you have statuses, which track your workflow. Basically, is the alert new, is it in progress, or is it closed? And finally, the verdicts. True positive, meaning it's a confirmed real threat, or false positive, meaning it's just no threat at all. Understanding these exact fields dictates precisely how an alert is going to move across your desk. But beyond just status and severity, you've really got to hunt for these specific clues. And here is a classic rookie mistake, confusing event time with alert time. Please do not confuse when the activity actually happened on the machine with when the alert was finally generated by the system. They are often different. You also need to look at the alert logic, which explains exactly why this activity triggered an attack warning, along with the affected hostname and the specific command line that was entered. These details right here, these are the essential breadcrumbs for your upcoming investigation. Which brings us to Section 3, prioritizing the threat queue. How do we choose the alert? Okay, so you are looking at a full queue with hundreds of items. Which one do you actually pick first? Now, every SOC has its own unique rules, and they usually automate this in the SIEM, but the standard, battle-tested approach is a simple three-step process. You filter, you sort by severity, and then you sort by time. You absolutely always handle your critical and high alerts before you even look at the medium or low ones. This minimizes the attacker's window of opportunity. Then, sorting by time ensures no older threats fall through the cracks when you're dealing with a massive backlog. All right, Section 4, the alert triage process. Let's look at the operational workflow. Your initial actions are really all about administration and ownership. First thing you do, assign the alert to yourself. This is a crucial step just to avoid the whole too many cooks in the kitchen problem, and it stops you from interfering with alerts being handled by your teammates. Next, you flip that status to in progress. By familiarizing yourself with the alert's description and its key indicators, you are officially taking full ownership of this detailed investigation. Now, your absolute best friend in the SOC is the workbook. You might hear them called playbooks or runbooks, but consider these your ultimate cheat codes. They are highly detailed, step-by-step instructions developed by senior team members on exactly how to investigate specific categories of alerts. So if you get a terrifying alert that you have literally never seen before, don't panic. The workbook is there to safely guide you through that specific, complex threat scenario. But what if a workbook isn't available? Well, here are your core tactical investigation steps. First, identify exactly who or what is under threat. Is it a specific user, a network segment, a particular hostname? Next, note the exact action described. Was it a suspicious login from halfway across the world, or maybe a known piece of malware trying to run? Then, review the surrounding events. You're looking for suspicious actions that happened shortly before or right after the alert fired. And finally, verify your theories using threat intelligence platforms. This is definitely the most complex step because it requires you to apply your technical knowledge to truly understand if the activity is legitimate or malicious. And finally, we arrive at Section 5, closing the cyber case, your final actions. So after all that methodic, rigorous analysis, you have to make a definitive judgment call. A true positive means you have investigated and you've confirmed malicious activity. A real threat is actively happening. A false positive, on the other hand, means the alert fired, sure, but the activity turned out to be completely benign or legitimate. In other words, there is no threat. It's a heavy choice, honestly. Your decision right here ultimately dictates whether a potential security breach is escalated to the big guns or just dismissed entirely. Before you officially move on to the next one, there are mandatory final actions you have to take. You must prepare a detailed comment explaining your exact analysis steps and the reasoning behind your final verdict. It is absolutely vital that you leave this clear, detailed paper trail. Only after you've done that do you return to the dashboard and move the status to closed. To wrap things up, here is a final provocative thought to leave you with. Let's say you investigate that scary Mimikatz alert from the very beginning. You find out it is highly malicious, and you successfully close the alert as a true positive. Well, simply closing it as a true positive on your dashboard won't actually kick the hacker off the network, right? So what on earth happens next? Well, that is exactly where case reporting, escalation procedures, and our L2 analysts step into the spotlight. But we're going to have to save that journey for our next explainer. Keep learning, stay focused out there, and I will see you next time.